Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the anime heroes One Piece Monkey D. Luffy, one of the most popular anime of all time. He's the main character, and now he has a new figure at a low price point, which should be pretty attainable for most collectors. Is it any good though? Most of the Dragon Star figures are pretty successful, pretty popular releases, but they are competing with SH Figuarts to some extent. At this point, there's nothing really for Luffy to compete against, so I'm guessing a lot of people are interested in this. So we're gonna break it down. You're gonna see if you like it, if you think it's pretty good, and I'll let you know my thoughts once we're done. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands just about 16 centimeters to the very top of his hair, which makes him pretty close to 6¼ inches. It's time for question of the day. Which version of Luffy is your favorite? This version, which is in the time skip, or do you prefer the pre-time skip where he's got the slightly different outfit and no scar? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I prefer pre-time skip. A lot of people prefer post-time skip because it's been around for a while and it's the current thing, but you can let me know what you think. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about aesthetics on this guy. There's a lot of molded plastic. Everything you see here pretty much is molded plastic, except for the tiny details. The red is molded, the skin tone is molded, the hat is molded, the sash, the pants, the other part of the pants, the legs, everything's molded. The only thing that's really not molded that stands out to me are the details on the feet, which are very clean. They're very, very clean, very nicely done. The X on his chest, which is also very clean. The buttons, of course, the detail work, very clean. And then the face, also very clean. Is it the best sculpt ever for Luffy? Probably not, but it's probably good enough. Now, I will say the hat it's nice that it's in the right color. It's molded nice, and they painted the red band on there, and that's pretty good. Definitely could use a wash. A little bit of paint on this guy, a little bit of wash would make it go a long way. It does have a sort of model kit feel to it, being that everything is just molded plastic with almost zero paint on it. But on the other hand, that's good because it's all very clean as a result. So I do like that. Sculpt is good. I'm pretty pleased with it. The only thing that really stands out to me as a negative is the way the sash and crotch area meets. And we'll get to that when we talk about the articulation. But that could look better, but it's not terrible. It's alright. So sculpt-wise, I'm pretty pleased with it. The only other thing I guess that's a big deal, maybe, is how much skin you can see around the shoulder, because that should be all red. Obviously, if he's got a jacket or a shirt on, there's a lot of skin poking through up there, but that's a very tiny thing. I would not worry about that, but I know some people might, so I'll mention it. But that's it. Otherwise, it's very aesthetically well done, very well executed. So for this price point, I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10. I think they did a really good job with this. There's not a whole lot I would change other than to throw some more paint on it, but we're already talking about new sculpts for every figure, so hard to argue with that. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. We have the 2 fist hands that come on in the package, we have 2 gripping hands, and then 2 kind of relaxed hands, and that's it. No effect part of any variety, so that's kind of a bummer. No anything, no big hand, nothing. Definitely would have at least preferred an alternate head if we're not going to get a big hand. I mean, Sanji got the fire, Zoro has his swords, Luffy just has alternate hands that don't look like anything, so that's kind of a bummer. So accessory-wise for this guy, a very generous 5 out of 10. Not what I'm hoping for when I'm like, the whole thing about Shonen characters is their special powers, kind of, sort of, at least a little bit, and we have no idea what Luffy's power is based on the figure. You know what I mean? If you didn't know, you wouldn't know, and that's not a good thing. So that's kind of a bummer. Alright, now as far as articulation goes, the head is on a ball peg and the neck is on a ball peg. The neck leans forward and back pretty well. It doesn't have much range side to side. The head leans side to side a little bit for attitude, just a touch. Of course, full rotation. And then forward and back, it's pretty limited on the head because of how far up into the head the neck goes, but the neck does lean forward, so you can get some range out of it, but it's definitely not great. He's also got a very flat front and back head. I didn't mention that before, I just noticed it. There's not a whole lot of depth there, so if they had kind of drawn that out, you'd have a little bit better range. But, it's limited. It's definitely limited. The hat doesn't come off, by the way, unless you really yank on the head, and it's not meant to do that, so be careful if you're going to. The shoulder, it does have a ball peg in there to let it move around a little bit, but it really doesn't move around at all, so you just get the hinge and the rotation. The hinge works really well, though, that's nice, and you get the rotation, but that ball peg in there is pretty fixed. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow is basically perfect. No wrist swivel at the sleeve. You don't need that though because you have a ball hinge. Nice little ball hinge on there, so that'll work. You can get the hands posed around a little bit, but there's not a huge gap, so it's going to be somewhat limited. For the torso, we don't have any articulation mid-torso. There is a ball peg under the sash or belt here, but the way they made the belt flat and the way the pants are keyed square basically on the one side to keep things from moving, it does limit posability. You can see how that just pops up as you move that. And then the ball peg is very limited as a result. He's basically just wobbling around. Not a whole lot of actual range there. This should just have been flush and a ball peg going straight through. There shouldn't be an extra keyed part in there. This should just be a floating piece, and this would have tons more range. And this would move a lot more too. So that's definitely a bummer. For the hips, we do have a hinged ball peg, and it does allow the legs to go basically to the splits. So that's pretty good. Let me pull it back a little. That gives you really good range. I like that. They don't go back too far. Going forward, it does kick them out to the side, and not all that high up. He's not doing any high kicks, that's for sure. That's a bummer. Thigh swivel is fine. It's in there. It's not great, but it's fine. You do get one down here though, so that should help. That should get anything you need done. That's good. Double jointed knee is fairly limited. You can pull the leg out some to get better range. You can get a little bit better range out of that. It looks a little weird if you look inside, but you get better range, so that's okay. Good enough. Like for a figure at this price point, that's pretty nice. And then you do have your ball hinge ankle. I do feel like, so I looked into this because it looks to me like this leg is like the shins are swapped on both sides. The way it curves and the way the cutout is at the ankle. But I looked on the back of the package and it's the same way, so it's just the way they made it. You may be able to swap these out to get better range out of the ankle rocker, but you do have the ball hinge down there, so it's not bad. You can bring the foot just a little bit forward, that's a bummer. It goes pretty far back, but the ankle rocker is really nice, so that's okay. Yeah, not great, nothing really impressive on here as far as the articulation goes. Nothing too disappointing, could be better, but again, we're looking at basically the Dragon Stars, or maybe it's a little more than Dragon Stars, more like Gundam Universe line where lots of unique sculpts, but limited articulation, that kind of thing. So it's a balancing act. I'm going to give the articulation on this guy just a 7 out of 10. That's probably a little bit generous. There's definitely a lot of improvement. Room for improvement, but I think it's good enough. I think the final verdict on this is going to be, for the price point and without any other real competition, this is a perfectly suitable spot holder in your collection if you want one this size. I do still hope for an SH Figure Arts, but we're talking 3 times as much money probably, at least. So I think this is fine for the price point. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. The lack of character-specific accessories is definitely a bummer, so 8 out of 10 only for this guy. Still a strong release, definitely recommend it. It's a fun addition to your collection. Nice to get some One Piece figures in there, but definitely some room for improvement, I think, but still good enough. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that, and in the meantime, keep collecting.